bed, and I just told her that her longtime friend, my mom is 93 years old, her longtime friend Mita has died. And I asked my mom if she wants to write a condolence letter. And she starts to, I give her a pen and she starts to write this condolence letter, but she's just writing the letters over the other letters. So I say, Mom, why don't you speak the letter and dictate it to me, and I will write the letter for you. So she starts to speak her letter to me, and I'm taking it down, and pretty soon it becomes apparent that she's writing the letter to Mita, not about Mita, as if it's the dead themselves that need condolences. And this happens a lot these days. Sometimes she'll ask me when she's going to speak to her mother again, and I always say, your mother died 27 years ago. And my mom gets really quizzical and says, 27 years? How do you know? So 45 years ago, in our little summer farmhouse in Maine, my brother and I used to get into bed on either sides of my mom, and she would read us hardcover books, one chapter or 2 or 3 chapters at a time, night after night, until she had finished them. And my memories of these books are just like little moments. I remember the greasy handshake of the villain Uriah Heep in David Copperfield. And I remember the end of All of a Kind Family, when the all-girl family has a brother born, and one of them says, we're not going to be all of a kind family anymore. And another one of them says, no, we will still be a kind family. And I remember just the sense of friendship in My Antonia, which was one of our favorites, and she read it twice. And I remember the terror of the little girl walking down the hall towards the sound in the secret garden. And now I'm here with my mom, and she's 93, and she doesn't really read anymore. She looks at books, but she reads a little of this page and a little of that page. She doesn't put it all together anymore the way she did at that little farmhouse in Maine. And I'm saying to her, Mom, you're writing this letter to Mita. Mita is gone. You have to write this letter to Mita's family. And my mother says, no, you don't know me. You don't know the way that I write. This is the way that I write. And I say, Mom, let's put this aside for now. And I go to her bookshelf, and I find a book by her long-gone best friend, Denny, a book called Tesserae. And I take this book from the shelf, and I ask her, can I read to you from Denny's book? And my mom accepts that. So I open the book, and Denny was a poet. She was a well-known poet, but this book is not her poems. This book is reminiscences and thoughts about her family. And the first piece is about her hearing a story from her mother visiting a Welsh relative who had on a battlefield once seen Napoleon in the flesh, and she muses on the fact that she's living in the computer age, but she's touched the hand of a person who's touched the hand of a person who saw Napoleon on the battlefield. And then there's all sorts of musings about Denny's family. And as I'm reading this, because this is the writing of a person my mother knew well, my mother is filling in details, memories that she knew about Denny's family. And she's getting more and more excited. And I'm reading really loud. My mom's a little deaf, so I'm yelling. I'm reading really loud, story after story. I'm getting hoarse. But as I finish each piece, my mother keeps saying, what's next? Turn the page. So I can't stop, and I keep reading, and I'm reading story after story, in the way my mom once read me chapter after chapter. And it feels a little bit like these stories are like a rope, and I'm pulling my mom in, pulling her a little more in to this life, so she can live in this life and not just in the past and the dreams. And that's ultimately what I hope someday my stories will do, if they're ever written down in a book, is that someone somewhere who I don't know will read those stories to an old person in their family, and somehow those stories, like a rope, rung over rung over rung, will bring that person back into this life. Thank you.